Some of the finest and truest music made in America has been outlaw country. These rugged guys were more cowboy than pop star, more criminal than businessman. But times have changed. By and large, most country musicians today don't really live up to that image. They prefer Cadillacs to getaway cars, white picket fences to jail cell bars. But there are a special few musicians who have continued to maintain that long-standing tradition. And sometimes in ways you might not expect. It turns out that even the most squeaky clean singers are capable of doing battle with the law. So what famous pair assaulted a police officer who was framed for a crime they did not commit? Who claimed to be connected to the mob? This isn't Goodfellas, this is country music. And today we're looking at country music's most unlikely outlaws. From butt-naked freakouts to horse theft, we've got the stories and the videos that will forever change how you see some of your favorite stars. But before we get to the mugshots, please hit that thumbs up icon to show our channel a little support. And hey, if you love country content like us, subscribe to our channel. But now, without further ado, come on and let's go find out.
What happened?
Winona Jud. 19 #1 singles. Winona Jud was on top of the world.
She is his only need.
You know you've made it big when you get to go by your first name. So how did this seemingly put-together star become a criminal? So, Winona was tearing around Nashville in her Land Rover like she owned the place. And in a way, she did. 19 #1 singles under her belt. There was just two problems. One, she was speeding. And two, she wasn't exactly sober. And the cop who pulled her over had some issues with that. Winona didn't exactly know how many drinks she'd had. The breathalyzer, however, did. Her blood alcohol level was 0.175, twice the legal limit. But it's what happened afterwards that's really crazy. Winona was booked at the Davidson County Court of Criminal Justice. As you might expect, bumping elbows with a country star in jail caused quite the commotion. But while it wasn't Winona's proudest moment, she tried to make the most of the situation. In fact, she hosted an impromptu concert and began singing to her fellow arrestees. Boy, I wish I was at that concert. Oh wait, maybe I don't. Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney. Both of them were famous. Together, they were unstoppable. Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney played the George Strait Country Music Festival in Buffalo, New York. It began as a near-perfect day, and it ended in a stolen horse, a brutal brawl with the cops, and two of country music's biggest stars facing felony charges and years behind bars. So what happened to turn such a picturesque day into a nightmare? It was a fine evening in Buffalo, New York. Tim and Kenny were outside the arena where they had just performed in front of a massive crowd. And yeah, they were high on their success. To celebrate, Kenny asked if he could sit on top of a police horse. He decided to ride it away. The officers tried to take him off the horse, which caused a fight. How hard did Tim fight to defend his pal? Well, he allegedly jumped on an officer from behind and tried to choke him out. Of course, they knew they were in some hot water, but they had no idea how much, because the cops sustained injuries. Tim and Kenny were charged with assaulting a police officer, which is a felony.
A little horsing around landed Kenny Chesney and Tim McGraw on the wrong side of the law.
They had to appear before a jury, but it's possible that the jury was also into country music, because they were found innocent. After the trial, they celebrated by signing autographs for fans who had gathered outside the courthouse to show their support. What maybe got them off the hook was, believe it or not, alcohol was not believed to be a factor. But does that add up? I'm not so sure. Tim and Kenny insisted that alcohol was not a factor in the tussle. But Tim, of course, has a song literally titled, I Drink. And one of Kenny's first hits was called Beer in Mexico. So yeah, while I believe them on a lot of stuff, I'm not sure they were completely sober. Randy Travis. Along with some of the most classic country tunes of all time, like Forever and Ever Amen.
Oh, darling, I'm gonna love you forever.
Randy Travis also has one of the most trustable faces in country music. Just look at him. He's like that uncle you always wished you had, share a Budweiser and play around a pool. And that's why nobody expected it when Randy went on a drunken rampage that almost destroyed his life. So why did Randy Travis go crazy? Okay, so in the 2000s, Randy began making more and more gospel music. This wasn't a career choice, he was secretly dealing with his own demons. Randy had gotten divorced from his longtime wife and manager, and he began to spiral into alcohol abuse. The first sign of trouble came in 2012, when Randy was found in his car outside of a church, reeking of alcohol. But I don't think anyone had any idea just how insane things would get. Let's set the scene. It was August that same year, just before midnight. A quiet night in a quiet town in Texas, when state troopers got a call that a naked man had crashed his car and was lying in the road. Just imagine their shock when that man was country music legend Randy Travis. But Randy wasn't there to sign autographs. He got up and began to run away. The cops got him, arrested him, and put him in the back of their patrol car, where Randy proceeded to threaten the officers, saying that he had connections to the mafia.
I know a lot of people. I know the head of mafioso families, man, I promise you that.
Then it came out that earlier that night, Randy had walked into a convenience store naked, demanding cigarettes. And things just got worse. He began driving around all night on a drunken rampage. Fortunately for Randy, his punishment was remarkably soft. He was sentenced to 2 years of probation and alcohol treatment. But that couldn't save him from another tragedy. Randy would soon have a serious stroke that prevented him from seeing or speaking, let alone playing music for the world. But with the help of his new wife, Randy pulled himself together and eventually recovered well enough to sing once again. You know, it's often the happiest looking people who hide the most pain. George Jones. In March of 1982, in Mississippi, George was pulled over alongside his agent and future wife, Nancy. There was good reason for this. They were doing 91 miles per hour. George seemed to be on some sort of drug, and the narcotics unit was called to investigate a white powdery substance on the floor. George and Nancy were both taken to jail, where they were booked and threatened with a felony. But they were released just 2 hours later. So what did they do next? Call a lawyer? Pray for forgiveness? Not exactly. These two lovebirds jumped right back in the car. This time they had Nancy's daughter in the car with them. Nancy was driving and things seemed to be okay. But George had gotten even drunker and he had some sort of death wish. He reached around Nancy and pressed on the accelerator. A terrified Nancy managed to stop the car and get her and her daughter out. And then George just sped away from them and, of course, got pulled over again. Just look at what happened next.
I don't know, but I don't.
What have I done?
You are drunk.
I am not.
Yes, you are.
No, sir.
It would be a long journey for George Jones in the coming years. Eventually, he got clean. But for a while, the possum definitely earned his title as craziest guy in country. Merl Haggard. Of all the people on this list, Merl might be the most obvious. He was famously in and out of jail for a lot of his early life, and he wrote one of the best songs of all time about trouble with the law. Mama Tried, of course.
Family meek and mild, my mama seemed to know what lay in store.
But what if Merle's reputation as an outlaw wasn't exactly true? Merle didn't exactly grow up in a Nashville mansion. In a situation straight out of a children's book, he was raised in a house that was built out of a converted boxcar. Anyone else remember the Boxcar Children? Then Merle's dad died when he was just 9. By the time he was 13, he was shoplifting and writing bad checks. He got caught and was sent to juvie. But he broke out, and he and his friend hitchhiked and rode freight trains around the country. Eventually, they made their way back home, where they had a surprise waiting for them. They were accused of a robbery. But here's the thing, they didn't do it. The system didn't care though, and sent them right back behind bars. That set the pace for the next few years of Merl's life. He continued to do petty crimes, and a few burglaries here and there. And Merl was in and out of jail like a revolving door. The next step, San Quentin Prison, the notorious home of some of the most evil and hardened criminals of all time. Charles Manson, Richard Ramirez, and Merl Haggard. I mean, what did Merl do to end up with such horrible roommates? Well, to hear it from him, not all that much. Merl said, quote, "I wasn't really that bad a guy. They just couldn't hold me anywhere else. I escaped 17 different times, so they sent me there because I was an escape risk." Merl Haggard accepted that his life would never get any better and started bootlegging and gambling. But, ironically, it was San Quentin that saved Merl's life. He made several close buddies there, just to see them executed for various offenses. And when he got out, he knew he had a choice, and he stayed clean. Or as clean as a guy like Merl Haggard could be. And finally, the Merl Haggard we know and love was born.
Take me back home before I die.
Alright, that's enough of me. Now we need to hear from you. Did all these country stars deserve the punishment they got? Did anybody get unfairly railroaded? And did we forget a great country star who had run-ins with the law? Well, get in the comments section and tell us all about it. We can always make a round 2. If you enjoyed our lineup tonight, please give this video a thumbs up to show your support. Subscribe to our channel and come back often so we can keep telling you
What